Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. Today, we're gonna talk about one woman's journey. Let me go even deeper than this in this journey because it literally blew my mind when I saw the questionnaire because it was very vague information. But what I do like about this story, you talk about that beast mindset. This is definitely one of those episodes you don't want to miss. Imagine, if you will, being married, having a child, and all of a sudden everything starts to unspiral, so to speak. But you're also into health and fitness too. Don't have time to really get to the gym. You know, you're trying to raise children. You're trying to figure out what the hell just happened with my life. And you see a towel in your kitchen and you decide to make that into something that can change your life. Before we get into all how all that came to be, let's welcome to the show Miss Virginia Bivens. How we doing,
Thank
baby girl?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it.
California, Colorado. How in the heck did that happen?
I know, life is crazy. Um, I needed a change. And honestly, it's really what my passion is. My children are my passion. So I followed my son, my second child, to Colorado after his first year of college, and needed a change for myself, and said I'm going to support him and also go on a little adventure after my divorce. And that's what I'm doing here, living a new life and feeling fabulous about it.
Let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about that transformation. Clearly, you had a beast mindset prior. You had, family, the values, everything going here, but you also dealt with some upcoming things with dealing with your mom and mental illness and stuff. And what I'm trying to do here is paint a picture on how the towel came into existence. So tell the viewers a little bit about who you are and that transformation before we get into the towel.
Yeah. My life was very interesting. I have a twin sister, I have a younger brother. We were raised by a very hardworking, wonderful mother and hardworking father. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. She raised the three of us. Pardon me, emotions do get the best of me because she's a big part of my heart. Um, and raised us to her best ability. And through her um, experience as a mother, she discovered, well, that she had a mental illness that was very debilitating. It affected our entire family, in and out of hospitals throughout our childhood. And it was very traumatic watching your mother go through such a hard life. It was very, very difficult, but yet still had this amazing love within her heart. And that is the main thing that I really grabbed from her, and how powerful love truly is and what it allows us to do for ourselves. It's very empowering.
Virginia, about what age was this that you noticed your mom's mental illness really starting to take place? And the reason I'm doing this because the show is designed to also educate and empower, and it brings awareness to people so they can know what they may
Hmm.
look out for with their parents or their loved ones. What were some of the things that
Yes.
you and your siblings was witnessing, as well as your father, and how did you guys get her to the point to say, okay, this isn't right. We need to seek professional help here.
Yeah, it was a very hard time because mental illness and cancer were not really openly discussed, right? So those were very debilitating, but yet very affected so many of us. She just started really experiencing a lot, or showcasing a lot of paranoia, very uh, just constant restricting us to do things, keeping us from doing things that she felt like were harmful for us. It started pretty much as young as, I would say, elementary age, probably around 10, when it became much more, we were more self aware of it. Like it was just more obvious. Before that, we would just kind of went along with mom, and we did crazy things with mom. Like we were put in weird, awkward positions where she would hide us from people and saying that people are following us. And It was very traumatic as children at the time because we were very scared. We thought too that people were following us. So those were the signs, and then our father took, took control and took her away from us, and that's what we saw was mom being taken away, and we were angry with our father for a really long time because of that, because we were not counseled as children through all of that trauma. We had to kind of counsel ourselves, and it was just really not an easy thing. And having everybody watching it and judging us as family too, strangers were judging us constantly throughout our lives, and very hard, but we pushed hard together as a family, a unit. The children came together, my twin and I, really had our own little challenges, but we were each other's best friend for a very, very long time. And our younger brother, despite being 5 years younger, was the older brother, very, very uniquely powerful in his own. Oh gosh, he's incredible. I always looked up to him as an older brother more than even a younger, but we were
What was
challenged. But it was exciting from the standpoint that we knew that we had love. We knew that that was something that knitted us together.
how long did it take for your mom to be properly diagnosed? And when she was, what was the diagnosis? Was it schizophrenic? Yeah.
Yeah, paranoid schizophrenia. And it took many years, to be honest with you. Different medications were, different hospitalization, just different hospitals at different times of certain episodes that triggered her to go to the hospital. Multiple incidences that were pretty intense on the family. Um, One really huge one that really truly just set everything, that basically was solidified the uh the diagnosis, was her attempt to suicide, um and we had to witness that. And so as teenagers, that was, we were 15 at that time, and that was very brutal. But
What do
that
you
was
mean you
made
had?
it.
Didn't mean to cut you off. What do you mean you had to witness it?
She was actually, she took my twin sister and I to visit her aunt, or her sister, and her boyfriend in Frankfurt, Germany. And during that time had a major episode happening, and we were very frustrated as teenagers at that point with her episodes. We would intolerate it, like teens do, and would get angry with her. And so during that time we were just very frustrated with her limitations of us wanting to go do things. And so she took us to go see them, and during that time they wanted us to go ice skating, and she didn't want us to go. And she and I had an outburst of fight, mother-daughter fight, and struggle through it. And so she left the room after our argument, and I felt something unusual in my heart, and I knew something was wrong. And I followed her into the room she had gone into, and she was in the window wanting to jump, and asked me to jump with her. And it took about five big, huge men to pull her back in. That's how badly she wanted to die. And so that was the main incident that occurred that required hospitalization, and then us as a family to sit down and get the diagnosis. That was always kind of tapped around, but never really solidified. And it made a huge impact.
But prior to that, as you guys were getting older, this is a two-part question because you're older now, so I'm pretty sure a lot of information has been given
Yeah.
to you. She had been put into treatment numerous times.
Hmm.
And I guess during that time phrase, at that time, maybe she was assigned a clinical nurse that maybe came by to come by the house to give her treatment or medication. How was she being stabilized? Because she hadn't
Yeah.
been formally diagnosed, or she might have been diagnosed schizophrenia and they gave her maybe Haldose or some type of
Exactly.
medication. But how was she being monitored once she left the
She
facility?
wasn't. She wasn't. That was the terrible thing about it. She was not. She was released and then left to fend for herself, and require, basically, recommended or or pardon me, prescribed medication that she was supposed to take orally. And she would take it and then not take it because of horrible side effects that she would receive. And so when she was on it, she seemed more like comatose, kind of just like
Yeah.
like walking back and
Almost
forth
like
all
a
the time.
zombie type state.
Yep, exactly. And had all kinds of uncomfortable, twitching, horrible side effects she would share with us.
Mhm.
She had that she just couldn't tolerate anymore. And so she wouldn't take it. She would dump him, pretend like she took him behind my father's back. And then we immediately saw signs of like things happening again and shifting. And I said, she's not taking her medication. And then again, always fighting. It's just horrible dysfunction in the house, as you can imagine. Despite how much I loved her, I was frustrated with her not taking response. It was just
Mhm.
a whirlwind of uneducated families need to be educated, right? We
Right.
need to be counseled together as a family when something like that happens. And during that time, that did not happen. We were never ever counseled and given therapy as a family to understand what was happening to our mother. So we were left to struggle and fight with it all the time and wanting to shake it out of her, thinking that somehow we could, snap her into reality
Right.
and take her medication, but it just never happened until finally after that diagnosis,
Mhm.
that traumatic thing happened, where we almost lost her. We had discovered all the other things that had happened prior to that,
Mhm.
that really opened up a whole, like, wow, this had happened that my father had hidden from us as young children. It was
Like,
it
what
was a
things were
lot. But
hidden
then,
from you that you let me put it like this. What things were hidden from you? And I can get both sides of the story. If
yeah,
you have children and you have two twins and a son, if you're not educated on the situation, they probably minimize
right.
the situation with your father. So I got to at least give him his flowers. He did the best that he could based on
Oh,
the
absolutely.
information that was provided. But to your eyesight, it didn't seem like all this stuff was hidden. But what were some of the things that you felt that you wish he had have told you? Because
Well,
as
no.
people are listening to this, they need to know that these things were hidden for a reason. But you're saying you wish he had have told you these things.
Well, no, I don't wish he had told me. He just hadn't. Like it was just revealed that wow, this all this stuff had happened.
Mhm.
Like we were like made aware of, like you said, what our father had been put through
Mhm.
to protect us.
Oh,
He
okay.
was trying to, in fact, protect us
Mhm.
from what had happened. So the stories just came out. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
for us, we were just like, whoa, this is a big picture, like huge picture that we were just like that was just drawn up and we had to like deal with all that in our heads. He tried to protect us from all of the things that had happened. So while we were sleeping, as an example, things that had occurred, that all of a sudden we were made aware, she had, attempted, and it was just really intense stuff that, the
Do,
whole family, my father was, like you said, did his best.
does he mean that you said attempted? Does that mean that during the middle of the night while you guys were maybe asleep, that she might have tried to take not only her life but you guys' life as well, and he had
Well,
supervised her?
he thought that might be happening. So in other words, she had in that particular incident, she had, I guess, collected all of the weapons or potential weapons in the house, like knives, things that she had accessible to her, and basically sat with them all next to our bedside.
I know some people are listening to this that probably wouldn't understand. It probably sounds like something coming from a movie, but
It does.
these things actually take place. But let me go
Exactly.
here. Evidently, there must have been a split between your mom and dad because you said something. Your mom took you guys to Germany.
Well, actually, there was not a split. That's what's amazing. And like you said, my father deserves a huge reward. Um, he actually stayed with by her side. She passed away a year ago. It was after, well, gosh, my goodness, yeah, a year ago, right after my son went off to college from California to from California to Colorado.
Right.
My mother that week, when I was moving him here, had passed away. So no, he stayed by her side the entire time. My father was actually an educator, an English professor, and wherever he could take a job throughout his entire life, he would move us.
Mhm.
So we had kind of a gypsy lifestyle, and so wherever my life is crazy. I've got a lot of stories, and it is very all over the place because, as you could imagine, oversaturated with all kinds of things in my body as far as my experiences from every stage in life where my
Right.
father would move us to, so no, he stayed with her. I
So let me get some
absolutely.
clarification. I'm trying to make sure I understand.
Mhm.
When she was when she went to Germany, right? Did you or did I mishear? She went to go see a boyfriend or something? Or did I
No, no, no. Her sister, her
or-
sister and her sister and her boyfriend.
okay,
So
now okay,
as
okay. 'Cause I'm
I
like,
know,
okay, did I hear you say her boyfriend? Okay,
no, no,
now it's clear. Okay. But with that being said, let's talk about the fact of how you and your sister and your siblings dealt with this because no information is really being provided, and now you witness your mother about ready to jump out the window and asking you to join her. You got to be asking yourself, I think, at the age of 15 or 16, look, what the hell is really going on here?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew that she was ill. I knew that she was ill. I knew at that moment she had something completely taking over. I remember her eyes completely changed. I remember just feeling at that time I was struggling with, I always had faith, but I did struggle with the church from the standpoint that throughout my challenging years, when I sought the church for help throughout the time that I was, attending regular Sunday school. I remember they too didn't have much information. I know they meant their best, but that's all I got out of that particular session was that the devil was inside my mother, is what I was told by a Sunday school teacher. And I remember thinking during that entire time when I saw when I saw my mother in the window, it looked like the devil was in my mother. And I thought, this is just the most horrible experience to see my mother, the wonderful woman that she is, so talented. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. Her story is huge. She's going to be she's a main person that actually has dictated a lot of what I plan to do in my future. But she was not the woman that I remember being my mother. The woman that had nothing but just so much to give. She was completely taken over by something that was scary, very, very scary, and very, very powerful at the time that
When
clearly needed medication.
I'm still I'm still horrified that you go to a church
I know.
and they bring demonology into a mental illness
I
state of
know.
mind to a child or a teenager. My fault, a teenager.
Yeah.
When
I think I was 13 at that time. I remember. And I always, and my twin and I, we always my parents baptized us when we were young, but my father never went to church, and my parents never really went to church except for like holidays. And my mother, during her illness, definitely didn't go to church. But my twin and I would hop on the church bus. I have a very crazy story. I used to live in Lawton, Oklahoma. My life went all over the place. That's where my father was teaching at an Indian school before we went back to Germany. Crazy life. There's a whole new episode there. But we were living there, and we would hop on the church bus every single Sunday morning in our ratted up clothes because we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And I remember distinctly going to church every Sunday, loved going to Sunday school, loved doing Bible study, loved singing the hymns, would cry emotionally, and still do to this day. Singing hymns, people think I had lost somebody. I'm like, nope, I just have a connection to the words and the powerful hymns. And so I would do that every single Sunday. And that was honestly, my group that I felt so solid with, right? And then when I ended up finding a new church, with a new school group of people, and we were a little older. I remember that Sunday school teacher saying that to me. And I know at the time I look back and I know her words were meant to be supportive, now as somebody who's rational and I look back. But at the time as a child, I was traumatized. And I never went back to church after that again. I never went back to church until much later when my children were born. But I never went back again. I always had a connection with God. I always spoke to God throughout the entire time, would sing and cry to him and pray to him all the time. Outside of that, I knew I didn't need that anymore. Does it make sense? Because he was
Right.
already in me.
Mhm. Let me go here with this question. How long, when did treatment, when did your mother become to the point that at least she was of stable mind to be able to communicate with you, your sibling, and your father?
Wow. You know, I can honestly say stable. When you say that, that's what's really sad to me. I think she felt the most stable, and I felt that I felt it was when she was much older than you would think. It's terrible to think because she lived through this for a really, really long time. I would say probably about 5 years before her death, and she died at 83. And wow. Yeah, because I remember during that time, I was really struggling with me and my marriage, and I got divorced after 20 years of marriage and had 2 babies, and she knew I was, very unhappy, in my marriage. Like, I was a happy woman, but I was unhappy in my marriage, and I knew that I didn't have a partner, but I worked through it because I knew my children deserved me to stick through it. I chose their father before I had the babies, and the babies don't have that choice, right? So I'm gonna stick it out, and I made the best of my life during that time. But I remember distinctly her being so calm and peaceful and playing the cello again, and she had withered away to nothing, but yet she was, I think, at peace. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
She
she
always had.
ever did she ever talk to you and your siblings about maybe having that empath to know that your marriage, that you was sticking in a lifeless marriage for the sake of your
Yeah,
children? I mean, did she ever come to you to give you
she did.
some
She
words of
talked to me
advice?
about that.
What's some of
Yeah,
the things you
she
remember about what she said when she became stable that you carry on to Colorado, which we're going to get into that new invention that you got? What did she bring to
yeah.
your life with that?
Wow. I can honestly say my mother and I, the one thing that was always so incredible about her is that she is Deutsch, she's German, and she was always very raw and real and just so natural. And she shared everything with me all through, even though she was ill, all throughout those years and teenage years, she was so open. Like, she was so open. She would always tell us very vulnerable. Make sure when we had boyfriends, she would share all the details about, the important things that we needed to be prepared for with, having a relationship and sex and, like, and making sure you protect your heart and protect your body and take care of yourself, and, like, she was really, really amazing that way. So when she knew my struggles in my marriage, she had opened up with me. And all throughout the years, I already knew about her love affairs. Never love affairs in a way other than a very emotional love affairs. Like, I remember her first one that she revealed to me was her trumpet teacher. She was an amazing trumpet player. I was a self-taught trumpet player. She grew up in Germany playing the cello with all of her siblings during World War II, and, like, crazy story about her life. Anyway, and so she broke free from the string instrument world and busted out the trumpet, and that was her rebellious instrument. And she would say to me, this is a powerful thing, and I picked up the trumpet because of her, by the way, as a young child. But she gave me a story, shared with me her trumpet teacher affair, and it wasn't an actual physical affair, it was an emotional affair. And she told me about the passion that she had with this man, or passion, or it was in her own mind. She had this, like, just fascination with him. He was a bearded, kind of round. It would totally. a type of person that it was just classic. But she would share these stories with me about that love affair, that was an emotional love affair, and how it healed her to a degree to get her to a point where she went, no, let's move on. Let's, like I can build my life. She didn't have a very good marriage either. So, and it wasn't all her fault. And I'm going to credit my father because I had to work through all of that too, because I was angry for a really long time. But I do know he struggled. I do know, but he was very, 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 very abusive. And it was just one of those things where he didn't have the means to cope, you know?
Uh, He
And
was
so he was
abusive,
that
but
way.
he still stayed with your mom through all of that.
Yes. Can you believe it? I know.
Now, what would you consider abusive? Because to me,
Oh,
to me, for a man to have carried all of that weight upon his shoulders
yeah.
and be there for her dying, hey, was it really abusive or was it just anger
Well, no,
that
no, no.
nobody would treat his wife correctly?
It was abuse, physical and mental and verbal abuse.
Okay.
Yeah, on them, on her and us. So it's just it's a big, it's huge. Yeah, no, he was, and believe it or not, I forgive him. Okay, I forgive him because I do know, I do know that he had no tools at all, no skills to deal with this. I mean, he was young. He was 6 years younger than my mother when he had us. So he was the young buck. She married a younger man back in the day, and that was a struggle in itself. The parents didn't want him to marry her because he was still in school, and said no, 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 and so he fought for that marriage. He loved my mother. He was madly in love with my mother. A very old romantic, a poet, just somebody that, and honestly, a carpenter by trade as far as his passion. Like, I can't even begin to tell you, unique person too, but struggled with how to cope, and fighting and lashing out was the only way to do it. Like, that's the only way he knew how to do it. He didn't have any tools, no therapy, nothing, and no family support, at all. So it's just, you know, yeah. And that's, we all know abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, especially back then, was behind, and almost always, well, it always is still to this day, behind doors.
Yeah.
Nobody, you don't talk about that. You leave it there, right? And then you walk out the door and here I am, you do your best. And so that was really the reality of it. But yeah, so my mother had to deal, she was struggling. They were both struggling. We were all struggling and trying to fight our way, and yet trying to find happiness is all you know. It's all you know. It's your little, your little nest.
So you wind up relocating to Colorado where you're at now, but you still had a lot of that trauma nest inside you. How do you find peace and love? How do you get that beast mindset back when
Yeah.
your mother, your father has gone through it, you've gone through it, and more importantly, did you ever have anybody to talk to it about? You've been married for 20 years.
Yeah.
Who did you talk to about what you was going through?
Well, it's amazing, the cycle, right? So for me personally, I've always been a very big talker. And honestly, and between my twin and I was very open about all of my stories, all of my trauma. I never, ever, ever not shared what was going on inside my body with a random stranger. Like, I would be this all throughout my years. I wanted to release it from myself. Between myself and my twin, she kept it all inside. So she bottled it up. I never bottled it up. I always released it, whether I was talking to God, whether I was talking to a stranger, whether I was talking to my ex-husband. I always shared it. It makes you vulnerable, however, to, right, judgment and yeah, and
Also judgment.
backlash.
Yeah. So,
But at the same time, it did allow me to heal
right.
through the process of sharing. Um, I always somehow had a very unique, and I really do credit it to God, a very unique ability to rise above in every situation. I really do love myself, and I think it's because my mother instilled that in me. And my whole mindset has always been, and I have used it since the day social media came about. My first hashtag of my entire life was love nothing but love. And that is actually the title that I had written as a young teenager, started my memoirs, Love Nothing But Love. And that comes from my mother. I always knew the one thing I got from my mother was love, pure love. That woman was made of love. No matter what, she had that. She was no, there was no hate in that woman. It was the most incredible and powerful feeling in the world. And everybody who met her, despite how withered away she looked, like I remember throughout the years thinking, gosh, she just like, I was embarrassed to have this old crud, like wrinkled up mom. And they didn't see that. They saw this beautiful woman talking. Like I remember going out to restaurants with her, and we would have a glass of, wine together, and we would just share and these random bartenders would like just gab up conversations with my mother because my mother speaks multiple languages, and they found her so fascinating. And I thought, wow, they're seeing something outside, right? Like inside
Mm.
that changes the outside exterior. And it was very powerful for me. So that was one thing that I always got from my mother was love. Love is the answer to so much. And I believe everything. And honestly, it really did give me my power. It really, really did. And when I lost that self-love for a minute, and it felt like forever, and it was forever for a while there, it was like a whole year, I lost it. I still fought for it with the love that I had in me, that was very embodied in me,
How
and
did you
found it
lose it?
tenfold.
How did you lose it?
Um, well, we go through all of the crazy stages in life, and technically, I guess it's a midlife, you know, crises that people always like to title, kind of label things. But the fact is, I did go through this radical. I was going through the change constantly. I was always evolving in my life, and my ex was not evolving, and yet wanted to squash me from evolving, and didn't like. And I'm like, I'm gonna evolve, and I'm not gonna change. I got to continue change. You should change too. But I remember going through this evolution throughout my motherhood and throughout my marriage, um, recognizing how I needed to free myself from this restriction. And when I went through my divorce during COVID, it was a very hyper aware, stage, and where everybody went through these changes, right? You either you fall deeper in love with your relationship, or you say, I got to have a new one, or I got to break free and I got to start fresh, right? And so I wanted to leave 10 years prior, but I never wanted to let my children be compromised. And I never knew there was never a good time. It still wasn't a good time. It never is a good time to leave, you know, their father. It was never going to be a good time, but I had to do it. I knew this was the time. So COVID dictated it. I was turning 50 that year, and I said, no more. I gave him half my life. I met him when I was 24, turning 25. I can't do it anymore. And I said, I'm leaving. And he was shocked, and he let me go. He didn't want me to go. He was hoping I'd come back, but he knew I needed to go. So during that time, I thought, wow, okay, I feel so free. And then I started realizing, oh wow, I'm I'm starting my life all over again, but yet at 24, 25-year mindset. But yet I'm 49, turning 50. So I turned into a kid again, making bad choices and realizing, oh, wait a minute. And so I just kind of lost myself, and then I knew that my foundation that I had built for 25 years, thank goodness, was there so I could fall upon it and build my and bounce off of it again and rebound. So that's what I did. So I went through just a midlife crisis, the typical woman who, gets divorced, and, meet all these, men come from everywhere, and you're like, oh, this guy's fabulous. So this guy's fun. And you think, okay, I'm gonna have fun. And then the fun turns to, oh wow. The reality is that this is just fun, but this is temporary, but yet you're still giving your heart and your and everything to this person, right? And then realizing, "Oh, this is foolish. What am I doing? I'm not going to build a relationship with this person." And then you find yourself going, I got to pull myself back again and rebuild the new me.
Mhm.
Like I really truly went back to where I was last single, right? I was 24 turning 25. And the person that found himself attracted to me was exactly that age, half my age. But yet I was connecting to him. And I went, that's weird. Like, why am I connecting to this technically a boy, but didn't feel like a boy, felt like a man to me. And he was the one who actually said to me, I don't think it's healthy for you to be dating young. I don't think it's good for your well being. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm having fun. I don't want to be married and I've already had marriage and I've already had my children. I'm having fun. And then I realized he was right. It was compromising my integrity, my being, my everything about who I am and what I stand for. And I know they were drawn to me for for multiple things, and I was equally drawn to them. But then I realized this is not there. There's more to this connection. Does it make sense? It was a big picture for me. It was a very hyper aware big picture. And that's what made me realize my son needs his mom. For goodness sakes, these boys need their mama, right? And that's what I realized. That was the reality of it. They saw something that they were missing too. And I was missing the connection of feeling young and fabulous, right? It was just a big, oh, my little dog, sorry.
Yeah.
It was just a very big evolution. It just came full circle. And
What did you 50 to 25? That's a serious age.
I know, I know. And it was really, truly, I didn't even know. We were shocked. I remember thinking, this person is drawn to me. I'm drawn to him. We're having this intellectual conversation. My ex-husband, 8 years older than me, we never had intellectual conversations. There was nothing exciting about our conversations ever from day one and throughout the whole time. And here I'm having this phenomenal connecting conversation with somebody that was half my age and didn't know it. And we're like, whoa, he didn't know it either. And it was just really kind of interesting because we were so connected. He had never, dated anybody older. I had never obviously dated somebody any younger. I mean, it was pretty wild and crazy. Um, but yeah, I mean, we had that was that's another story. But but a good. I know he was planted in my life for a reason. He was unique from the standpoint that he read the Bible every night. I would have never known. I'm like, what? Because that's not how we connected, right? But yet, through our conversations, we had all of these really deep conversations. I went, wow, this is crazy. It's like, I know he's in my life for a reason, right? He entered into my life for a reason, for me to be aware of what was happening, with my own children and how important it was for me to be able to look at my son. Because my son was always we have a relationship that's like unbelievable, like just so open. So he truly, truly always looked up to me for fitness and for like, health. And like, he always just, I can't even, amazing connection and very strong, very old soul, very, uh, just always had this very unique way to talk to me. And every evening we'd have conversations. I'd say a prayer. We had really unique mother bonding or mother son bonding uh, stages where we had to, like, kind of get through, because he was the challenging baby that basically made my head spin. And that's how Teletony came about and getting my fitness back. But he was just very interesting, just a unique man, a unique young man. And during my separation, he went back and forth between mom and dad and was always the strong little kid, and then went through some challenges. And it was the simultaneous time where I was with that guy breaking it off with him, where I went, oh my gosh, I'm looking at my own son going, clearly I need to be focusing here, really be focusing here. Like there's all this stuff coming out that I realize My boy needs me. He tried to act like this little tough boy, but I'm like, he needs me. Because, he had to be strong through this divorce, right? He had to sit down. He even sat down with us and said to us at 13, turning 14, he said to us, so are you going to be dating other people? He was like this little man, like tears coming down his face. And I said, not right away, and he was just trying to be very methodical and like prepared. Like, I understand why you're not together. And then I realized, wow, this boy does not deserve to have to feel like this. He just have to grow up right now. He still has growing to do. Right. And that's when I realized that a lot of young men have to become men like right out the gate, right? And like we teach societies like you better be a man. And then I realized, no, my boy needs this softness that he has makes him strong. And I need to make sure I nourish that and nurture it so that he doesn't crack and fall apart. Right.
Mm.
And so it really did come full circle. Yeah, my life. So I bounced back pretty darn quickly because of this darn lifestyle that I built around a towel. And I can tell you right now, it's more than fitness. We know this. Our strong bodies come from a strong mind. And that's how we got our strong bodies, is the strong mind, putting it together, putting it to work. And it really truly does empower everything, mind, body, and spirit. It really truly does. When you do it in the right way, right? When you do it with intention and really self-awareness and um exploration through the process. And that's what I've done, and I'm really grateful for it and blessed, to have found this amazing lifestyle that I want to give to everybody.
So before we wrap up, let's conclude this by talking about that towel. How did this towel thing come about?
Yeah, it came about from the during 2008, during the recession of 2008, when my ex was in real estate, and real estate got hit super freaking hard. Everybody got hit hard, but extremely hard in real estate. And that was how he made his living. And we lived in a beautiful home, beautiful, gated community of an affluent area of Southern California. And he worked his butt off during the recession and said, we can't spend money, we can't do this, can't do that. And I pulled back like a good wife does and said, you know what? I was never really, and he knows this, he can vouch for that, never did anything but do it yourself nails, do it yourself hair, never went to the salon, never went anywhere. I did everything on my own. I grew up that way because I didn't have that. And even though we lived in a beautiful area, I still lived very humble. And he was too. And so I basically thought, you know what? I would see all these moms dropping off their kids at preschool looking like fabulous like I do now. I feel fabulous now, but it took decades. And feeling fat and going, where are they going? Like, where are they going? And they would go to Pilates classes, and they would go to ballet bar classes, and they would take yoga, and they would, all this and they always looked fabulous in their Lululemon outfits, and actually got that was a good stock tip I gave my ex back in the day, about Lululemon. And so anyway, so I wonder where they were going, and I would ask questions, and I went, and so I literally said, I'm going to get myself fit in my living room while my babies are sleeping. And I started applying them. I never took Pilates, I never took a yoga class, and I never took bar class. But I love dance. And I always grew up dancing with my twin sister in my little, old rundown house. And we pretend like we were ballerinas. We would always pretend. My mom always wanted to put us in ballet classes, but we never did, and because they couldn't afford it. But we created our own dance moves, and that's how I did it. And so I started thinking about the long lines of a ballerina, and I was always inspired by Misty Copeland, the strength of a ballerina. I always was inspired by uh, martial arts, uh, with Bruce Lee, and the dynamic tension and the power behind it. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna grab a towel and have that be my Pilates bar, and I'm gonna have it be my ballet bar, and do all these crazy things. And I started exploring. I don't know what, with the idea of moving my body, using the towel to stretch me, and to move my body. I can't even begin to tell you. It was just it just opened up all this creativity in me. It was, and I got myself super, super fit. And within only a matter of a month, all my mom friends would tap me on the shoulder and say, "What are you doing for fitness?" It was like that quick. I'm like, "Oh, I'm just using a towel in my living room." It was really fun, and that's how it all came about. And that's when the rumors, or all the word, all the uh, kind of, you know, people in the community would talk about it, and all these conversations would happen around it, and I would always share tips with my mom friends, and then before you know it, I started teaching my mom friends my workout, and would go to their homes and show them how to work it in with a towel. And then my privates turned into, let's create a group class. We just all it just all turned into this community thing. I would literally give away classes for like $5 a session. I mean, it was crazy at the park and in my gated community, where they had a lot of money to give, but they were still kind of cheap. It's funny, they spent money on all kinds of other things, but they didn't want to spend money on fitness, and I didn't either, because I didn't spend money on anything. I'm like, are you kidding me? I get myself fit with a towel. So it just really was a blast to be able to make people feel fabulous, but it's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. We need to talk again, but I just absolutely am so empowered and by the use of this thing. I can't even begin to tell you. I'm so proud of the darn thing. It turned into way more than just a rolled up towel. Now I have a loop design, and it's just so much more powerful. I can't even begin to tell you. It's exciting.
That sounds great. You know what? I want to thank you so much for taking time to explain to the viewers the importance of mental illness and how you and your family still kept that beast mindset, even and more importantly, condolence to the loss of your mother. I can tell by this story
Thank you.
that was your mom was a rock to you as well as your father. How can the viewers reach out to you to know more about that towel?
Well, you just reach out to me. Meet Virginia, 1970. I'm proud of my age. I've always have been. And towel toning, just like it sounds and just like it offers. But yeah, so toweltoning.com is my website. I have several different, social media accounts through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. But if you type in Virginia, Meet Virginia, or just towel toning, I pop up. I'm the only one doing this. I've been doing it since, like I said, 2008.
That's great.
Long, long time. And it's been fun, and I'm not going to stop.
Thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe, like, share, click that button. All it takes is one click to make a difference in your life or to change somebody else's. This has been another, and I do mean another, exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show.